Great Scott! You're listening to the Growth Time Machine with Daniel Curtis. Don't forget to follow. Your future depends on it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Growth Time Machine. I'm Daniel Curtis, and today I am delighted to be joined by Richard Wilmore. Richard, it's lovely to have you with me.
Well, thanks for having me.
It's a joy. It's a privilege. Now, behind you, what do we have there? It's quite...
Well, some people, it's real. Some people think it's virtual, but it's real. Some people think I run a daycare, but it's just fun. When people come in here to film my show, it just instantly puts them in a good mood. It's bright, it's cheery, but also like if I'm not having a good day or I'm a bad guest, it's some distraction. So there's at least something to look at. Yeah.
Yeah, I will immediately get one of those to ensure that if I'm a bad guest, but I love it. It's like bright and colorful. So I'm excited already. Where are you joining us from today?
South Carolina. I'm just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina on the border.
Love that. Mm-hmm. How's life in Charlotte? How's things?
I cannot complain. I just celebrated 3 years of living here. I moved from Texas, where I moved from Maryland, where I moved from Wisconsin. And South Carolina, North Carolina has been incredibly kind and welcoming. So I love it here. It's great. It's like you get all the seasons, but they're not extreme summers like Texas and not extreme winters like Wisconsin. So I'm very happy.
I get that. At the moment, we're having a very hot British summer, which is words we don't normally associate with each other. You know, very hot summer. You know, so that's a word that, you know, exists, but doesn't often mean a lot.
Yes.
So it's very unusual here at the moment. Now, we're going to go right back to the start.
Okay.
What was the very first job that you ever imagined that you would do?
A teacher. That's what I wanted to do. A teacher. An elementary school teacher.
What was the reason for that?
I grew up in not a great childhood. There was a lot of sickness and health issues amongst my parents, and so the teachers really kind of grabbed onto me and kind of guided me through those years, and I just loved them so much, and I was so thankful for them that I wanted to do that for someone else.
I get that. I think when I was in school, despite having an indifferent time in terms of how teachers found me, how they responded to me, and school certainly wasn't a pleasant experience a lot of the times with bullying and things. But what I did learn is that I genuinely believed all teachers knew everything.
Yeah.
I thought they were the most all-knowing, all-powerful people I'd ever met.
Yeah.
Obviously incredibly well paid for what they do. Yes. I found out later that's not true. And
none of that's true.
True. But, you know, I think the majority of them, certainly when they enter the profession, had the idealized version that they profoundly could help kids. I don't think people entered that profession, well, I hope they didn't, with any less of an aspiration than that. But I'm excited to see where this flows from here. So what was the first kind of real job you ever had?
A real job? I worked at Walmart during the first 2 summers of college. Is that a real job? That's a real job. Yeah, that's not like the one before that was like mowing grass at my church. So the first 2 summers of college, I worked in the like restaurant cafe part of Walmart, where I had to charge 25 cents for crackers if people requested more than 1 packet of crackers, or my boss would yell at me. And I was like, this is insane. This is crackers. Why can't we just give crackers? They're buying soup. And I made a lot of popcorn those 2 summers.
So we had this aspiration, teaching, We went and did what I think a lot of people do, go and take some kind of job. You know, your mowing grass was probably my paper round, and then I went and collected glasses in a pub. It was not exciting.
Wow.
Not exciting at all. The very first job, though, that I ever had where I kind of felt a bit proud, you know? I wasn't 20 yet. I went to work in this historic house. Incredible place. And one of the things you had to do was dress up in costume from the period and pretend that you lived in that period of time. That was the quest. Now, you had 2 job titles that you could have. Steward or historical interpreter.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Those are some titles.
So steward, you know, not that exciting, but historical interpreter.
Yeah.
That's the one that remained on the CV. I was an historical interpreter, and you know, it never got cooler than that. That was the most exciting job I ever did.
What was your character? Like, who were you?
I made him up. Thomas Rees, this Welsh kind of infusion, but he had to have a whole family because people would come in and try and trick you constantly. So you had to kind of live and breathe this character and ignore the present day. It was a really interesting thing. Taught me a little bit about public presence and speaking, and made me see the whole spectrum of the human condition at the same time. But that was a job title. Where did you go?
It's so fun.
It was fun. Where did you go from Walmart? What was the journey? What was the journey from there?
So I wanted to be a teacher up until I was 12.
Okay.
And that was the goal. And then when I was 12, that's when I knew I wanted to be a talk show host. And so from then I did whatever I could to be a talk show host. And one way or another, I did it. So I went to school. I went to college for acting because I thought, well, I'll just get a theater degree, become famous, get a talk show. Like, duh, how else would you do that? And then apparently that doesn't happen. So I ended up doing retail. Remember Borders, Books, Music, and Cafe? This is Richard. How can I help you? Do you remember Borders? Did you have Borders?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I worked there for a long time, and loved it. It was so fun. And then I worked for a college university. I owned a fashion truck for a while. I ran a nonprofit for a while. And now here I am.
So, talk show hosting. Now we are mixing with the giants here, the legends. Who is it? Who comes to mind when you think that is the person I admire the most? That's the person whose career is just, you know, I look at it and I think, yes. Who's that person for you?
It was the summer of 1997. I was flipping through the channels. I was 12 and came across a rerun of the Rosie O'Donnell Show.
Okay.
And that whole environment that she created, that celebration, I was like, that's what I have to do. I have to do that for other people. I have to provide a space that other people can be celebrated. And I've been able to do that for the last 30 years.
I love that.
You
know, being from the UK, we obviously have our own hosts that we have here. And it took a long time to get the American kind of TV hosts across here in any capacity, really the world of social media. I remember going to see David Letterman a couple of times in New York and sitting there watching his show. One day out came Morgan Freeman. That was particularly interesting and cool.
Wow.
But I remember looking at Letterman and thinking, yeah, this will never be seen in the UK, ever. And it's a huge thing. But obviously, Kimmel and Fallon and, you know, the brilliant, I mean, I love Conan O'Brien. I find him genuinely entertaining. Aside from his talk show, just his riffing, you know?
Yeah.
But these are worlds, aren't they? Where there is a lot that goes into this. People often think, right, this talk show host here, he's riffing this. But there is monstrous amounts of work, am I right, that goes into what you see.
Yes, tons of writers, lots of rehearsals. I mean, there's every time I do a show, I'm like, this is why these shows have crews of 200 people, because this is not easy and it's just me. Yeah, there's so much that goes into it. There's so much planning. You know, they take breaks during the summer, but there's a crew working all summer on the next season.
So what was it about being a host? What captivated you? You mentioned Rosie, and you know, I agree with everything you said. But what did you see in yourself that you thought, do you know what? This is right for me. This is a match for who I am. What was that?
I think I grew up as a kid who didn't always belong and didn't feel like I really had a home anywhere and that I fit in anywhere. And that show, her show, like whether you were on the stage as a celebrity, if you were in the audience, if you were a crew member or someone at home, like you felt like you mattered there. And I just remember thinking like, I want to do that for someone else. Like I want to create that space so someone else who, when I'm older, someone who's my age at 12 has somewhere to go, because it can be so scary and dark. And that was such a bright light in my everyday. I got to smile for an hour every day, which didn't happen that often.
I get that. I mean, having been someone who went through life being misunderstood, being bullied, being told they were no good, I certainly get that. And it wasn't on over here, but Mr. Rogers, you know, he was someone who certainly, when I did find him in later life, I was thinking, oh, I wish I had that. I wish I had someone who just looked at the world, that people should, you know, join together and not be against each other. I just, that is one of the shows I was thinking, I just thought, I wish that was over here when I was a kid.
Yeah. Like I always wanted to be a part of the, like, I wanted to be a part of the Mr. Rogers world. Like I wanted to go in there. I wanted to, like, all of those things that just made me happy. I just longed to be any part of them.
So you had the aspiration. That's a long way though from actually doing it. How did you get there? So did you go on to that acting course?
Yeah, I got a theater degree, and I'm 42 and still paying off student loans, so we've got that going for us.
I get that.
Yeah. But I knew quickly that I wasn't a good theater person. Like, I'm not good at pretending I'm someone else. Like, I feel like I did that for a long time. I'm much better at being myself. And so I just kind of started putting it out there. Like, this is what I actually want to do. This is what I actually want to do. And at one point, I knew someone who needed a thing, and I got to do a talk show on a local TV station in Milwaukee. And I said I wanted to do the Rosie Show, you know, like I needed a live audience. I wanted to play games. And the studio said, we've never had a live audience before. And I said, well, you're about to, because I'm not doing this without a live audience. So I got to do that, and it ended up winning an award. So they asked me to come back and do it again and do a longer episode and do a live episode. And I just realized like that's what I love doing, you know, like I love showing other people who are doing amazing things. And yeah.
I love that. What part of this journey though have you gone to yourself, this was not what I thought it would be? There must be some things where the dream and the actual work itself were not what you thought.
I think, especially at the beginning, it was like what I thought success would look like. Like, to me, success was just having a contract, making millions of dollars, and being on network television. Like, anything below that, I don't know why I'm doing it. And as I've done podcasts and helped other people with I've realized that I've hit so many milestones. I did my show in front of a live studio audience and a comedy club for quite a while in San Antonio. And I've had lots and lots of people on my show. I've been able to create it, maybe not at the scale I thought I would at 15 or 20, but I've been able to continuously provide this platform in one way or another for a very long time. So I think that would be one of the big things was like, oh, well, you're only a talk show host if you're on network television every morning.
I get that. I think that, breaking through these things, a lot of it seems to be about legacy, where people were writers on SNL or something. There is, and I don't know if those opportunities exist in the way that they did once. Mm-hmm. Although I do look at one, Matt Friend. You know who that is? Have you seen his stuff? He seems to be really on the uppity up. He's a comedian and an impressionist, and he turned out to be Jimmy Fallon's assistant back in the day or something. Mm. And he's on the real rise. He's going to make it. Well, I think he's already making it through. But I look at someone like him and I thought, when I found out he was Jimmy Fallon's assistant, I kind of thought to myself, do you know what? Even that kind of makes sense now. There is a legacy generally. You look at Conan's and they come from being writers generally, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm. How about you in terms of writing? Do you do all of your own stuff?
Yeah, I don't really do a lot of writing. I'll do intros to people, but most of my stuff is just conversational. So I don't do a lot of writing really. It's one of my goals is to take comedy writing classes, because I think it would be so beneficial for public speaking, for all of that.
Well, Jimmy Carr, the comedian, British comedian, he said that he thinks everybody should take a comedy class. Everyone. Yeah. He said they would learn so much about themselves and being awkward and all of those things. He just thinks it's one of life's skills. But when you were talking about not being where you maybe expected to be, he summed this up very well, and he said that everybody wants his Netflix specials. Everybody wants the sellout tours and the sellout arenas. They want his success. Not many people want the 12 hours a day that he spends writing gags. Yeah. No one really wants that bit. And I kind of think, there is that level of, as I said, legacy and luck. And a lot of these people, they're immovable, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Jimmy Fallon, I think, Stephen Colbert's just gone off. And Stephen's a genius and he'll go and do something else which is equally genius-worthy. Yeah. But, even people like Rosie and, Ellen's, they're struggling to get these big shows now. The world has changed, hasn't it? Dramatically.
Yeah, I think with the introduction of social media, the way that celebrities have grabbed onto that, especially now podcasting, there are millions of podcasts, and you think, you're only successful if you're one of those top tier Joe Rogan celebrity podcasts, but that is so not obtainable for a person. But there's still success under that, that it can sometimes be a little reality check when you're first starting out, or even when you're not first starting out. Like, my gosh, I've been doing this for how long, and I still, am here. But there's success in that.
100%. I'm so glad you said that, because measuring oneself against Joe Rogan is foolish. There are countless reasons why Joe Rogan is successful. Mm-hmm. And some of it's timing, some of it's luck, some of it's talent, some of it's backing. There are lots of reasons. Yeah. And some people break through like that, but that's not the majority. Mm-hmm. Being a success is defined by what you define being a success by. And there are different metrics, right, that matter. What are you most proud of?
I think it's the connection that guests have come on my show and made with other guests that have been on my show. I know I'll get messages. I've had people get jobs from being on my show. That always makes me super happy that's the point of it, right? That's the point of like living to me is making connections with other people. And when I get to hear about it, because you don't often get to hear about it. You do an interview, you go about your life, they go do this, and you don't know sometimes that ripple effect that an interview you did 3 months ago has.
That's true. That's
and
true.
so I love that part of it.
What aspiration do you have that you really are focusing on now?
Connecting more people with podcasts. I think when I reach out to someone, especially at the beginning, to come on the show, they're surprised that someone wants to hear what they have to say. And I think as podcasts are growing, I think it's great that it's a space that people can come and brag about themselves. And I think people get a little nervous about that. And I think people don't think that they're important enough, or what they do in the world, what they bring to the world is big enough to be on a platform like that. And I love connecting the two together, hosts and people out there who should be proud about what they're doing. And that has been really fun for me, is just not necessarily hosting anything, but guiding people to the right places to go to talk about what they're doing.
Clearly, things throughout your life, particularly childhood, as you mentioned, clearly there was things there that have defined that outlook. And I'm not going to kind of push you on anything you don't want to say, but I'm wondering, as much as you want to say, what was that? What was it that has made you care now so much about people's voices being heard?
I think there were a couple things. My dad got very sick. He was first diagnosed with cancer when I was in second grade. And we were kind of thrust into this new world of poverty, of intense sickness that went on for decades. And we were sort of looked at as, I don't know, kind of a pity family, a charity case, kind of, where we always needed help. I was also bullied a lot for being gay before I knew I was gay. And so I knew I was called all the slurs and all the names before I even knew what it was. And I just remember being a kid and thinking, well, whatever that is, I don't want to be that. And that is a horrible thing to be, whatever that is, because I was so young. And so I spent so much of my time trying not to be noticed. So much of my life has been just trying to blend in and not be noticed. And then I wanted to be a talk show host and realized through many, many years of therapy that part of that is being noticed. And it's been a huge switch in my brain to want to be out there talking, to want my voice to be heard, and the power in that, and being able to give that to other people. I don't know, I guess kind of is a full circle moment for me to see people proud of themselves for celebrating and for writing about themselves, because I didn't get to do that.
When people tried to attach labels to you that you did not understand, obviously you went through a phase there where you said, I don't want anything to do with whatever it is they're saying. I don't really understand, but I don't want to be categorized in anything like that.
Yeah.
So obviously at some point you started to have questions yourself. Did those former labels and things that people said, did that cause you more distress or more turmoil or a greater sense of concern about telling other people?
Yeah, I didn't tell anybody until I was in my 20s.
Okay.
And there I was loving Rosie O'Donnell and listening to Madonna, you know, doing all the gay things, but thinking nobody knew. Because it was etched in my brain that it is not okay. And I was also very, like, I had all these reasons why I couldn't. We were very close to my grandparents, my mom's parents. We literally lived a couple houses down from them, and I was scared that my grandma wouldn't be okay with it. And, you know, you make up all this stuff of all the people who are going to be shocked and surprised and hate you, and you start to hate yourself, you know? So that took a long time to get over that, and to, in some ways, I'm still working on it, you know?
How did people accept or not accept when you told them?
When I called and told my parents, my mom started crying right away. And I said, well, why are you crying? And she said, I've been waiting since you were 3 for you to tell me this. And I was like, well, you could have said something that could have saved us a lot of time. But no one that I know of in my life had anything but super positive reactions. Most people were, I don't think there was one person that was blindsided that was like, what? Are you kidding me? And so most of them were like, well, it would have been, you know, like, why not do it sooner? And I mean, looking back, sure, I wish I would have known, and I wish I could have done it sooner, but everybody has to do it in their own time.
What is it that still affects you in terms of working through it yourself?
I think strangers. So this is literally something I'm talking with my therapist about tomorrow. It is going into rooms, doing what I do, emceeing events and talking to people and doing speeches. And it's going into rooms and thinking, how much of myself can I be? I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to make them uncomfortable with who I am. And it's something I'm definitely starting to embrace, that, you know, there's a reason why I'm being hired to go do these things. There's a reason why people want me in the rooms. And that has been a huge mind shift for me that's taken a very long time to do.
In the short time that we've been talking to each other, one of the things that I can tell is that you have, you know, a joyous personality. It's one that some people may call infectious. You know, I genuinely believe that you thrive when you are around people and you are interacting with other people. And yes, you've gone through times where that interaction has been maybe kind of not in the way that you would have hoped, particularly going back, you know, into those early school days. You know, you have these genuine concerns how people will perceive you, yet I completely agree that the more that you are you, the greater that people absolutely respond, the more people feel calm, the more people will just embrace the true soul that you are. I think that there's so much that you've got to give to this world. And I hope that you see and trust yourself to be you, because that's the best version, unquestionably.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's taken me 40 years to know that. Now it'll probably take me another 40 years to embrace that. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
You're on the path.
Exactly.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
You have to dream it to live it. That's a motto I live by. And I feel like you have to have dreams and aspirations, and so many of mine have come true, and it's been fun to look back and realize that and take the moment to celebrate it and make new dreams that I get to strive for and have fun creating.
So I'm going to change my last question ever so slightly. So I'm going to give you 2 things. So this brilliant, and he was great, and I had a chance to chat to him Billy, I'll always remember his story about this chest that his grandparents had taken from Scotland over to the United States, packed all of their worldly goods in. And this chest he now has. He sent me a picture of it. I just thought, look at the history. This box. So I'm going to give you 2 boxes here tonight.
Okay.
The one box is things that you would keep. They can be physical things. They can be, things that have happened in your life. What goes in that box? And what's going to go in the other box? The stuff you do not want to carry anymore.
One of the things I wish I had was the blanket that I was brought home from the hospital in. It was a blanket that I loved growing up. My mom probably still has it. And I use it for everything. It was my security blanket until I was probably way too old. When I was younger, I would pretend it was long hair. I would pretend it was dresses. Like, I loved the blanket, and my brothers hated it and would tear it apart. Like, they would do tug of war, so I would knot it because I couldn't get rid of it. I would love to have that in my chest because it just brings so many memories. So I would put that in there. What I wouldn't put in there, what I would put in the other box. I don't know. There were like I was in the hospital myself for a while. I had a fungal infection that they didn't know what was happening, and I lost a knuckle, and I have all these, they didn't really know if I was going to leave the hospital. I was married for a while that ended in not a great divorce, but I feel like I've learned so much from everything that I've got, even all the stuff with my parents and being sick. Like, I don't know. I look back and I kind of cherish all of that because I feel like it has brought me to such a place of empathy for other people. And I just love seeing other people happy because of everything that I've gone through.
I thought you would say something like that. And I kind of hoped you would in many ways. It's those things, obviously, that we go through. They have a huge impact. There are some things I wish I wouldn't want to do it again. Put it that way. I wouldn't want to do it again.
I don't want to live through it again, but I don't know if I would change it.
And I think that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Two last things. Number 1, tell people how to find out about you, your shows. Where do they watch them? How do they find out about you?
MakeYourDayRicher.com is kind of where everything lives. Or you can just look up Richard Wilmore and find me. I'm all over the place.
Perfect. Yeah. Can you give us a message just to see us out? What would you say to the people listening? What's on Richard's heart tonight?
Gosh, I think it would be my quote. You have to dream it to live it. And every day when I get to come into the studio and talk to people like you, like I tear up and I get goosebumps because I feel like not everybody gets to live this fantastic life that I get to from a kid who didn't really have a great life growing up. It's been an amazing, amazing adventure.
Yeah, and it's just starting. I know there's so much more that you're going to do and so many more people to help. So thank you from me to you for the good work that you do, for trying to lift people and inspire people. And I hope that countless more, find your work, enjoy your work, participate in your work. And I hope that the rest of your journey is even more profound than anything you can imagine.
Oh, thank you.
Go do great things. I have no doubt you will. And thank you for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
It's a joy. Thanks so much.